Hi everyone, and welcome to another Krownie Academy video. My name is Ishan, and I'm one of the co-founders here at Krownie. So in this video, we'll be going over the candidate flow. So the candidate flow refers to what the candidate is actually able to see when they click on a Krownie link from interview start to interview end. So this is our workspace over here. We have one workspace called Krownie. Let's click on view. So within this workspace, we have a lot of different interview flows. So again, an interview flow refers to an interview configuration. So this is where we define the questions we want to ask. This is where we add the company details. This is where we can do things like enforce the webcam be on or off. So we can actually see on the right side over here, we have buttons where we can copy the link for a specific interview flow. So when we do that, we can actually distribute that to our candidate. So in terms of distributing these links, it's really up to you. You can either input it directly onto the job application that you want. So that way candidates can simply click on the link and do their Krownie assessment right then and there. Or you can also opt to just send that Krownie link to only the candidates of your choice. So let's take a look at this specific interview over here, the software engineer one. And let's copy this link over here. So again, to reiterate, you can also do the same thing on this on the right side over here with the copy link button. And let's paste that over here. So over here, this right here is the first page that the candidate is going to see when they click on a Krownie link. So it's sort of an intro page right here. Let's go to get started. Let's put our first name, last name, and there we go. That is our email. Phone number is optional. Let's click start interview. So first is the mic test. So as you can see, this gauge right here is going off, which is great. That means our mic is working. Next up, that button will test your speakers just to make sure we can actually hear the audio. And over here is a preview of our webcam. So let's go ahead and start the interview.
Hi, Ishan. My name is Chloe, and I'm a technical recruiter at Krownie. It's a pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Chloe. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Let's dive right in. To start, could you tell me a bit about yourself and your background?
Absolutely. So as you know, my name is Ishan. I graduated from the University of Toronto, where I studied computer engineering. And ever since then, I've been working in the industry as a software engineer. Another thing I can say about myself is I love to solve problems. Ever since I was a kid, I love putting puzzles together. I love taking things apart and putting them back together. So obviously problem solving gives me great joy. And that's why I ended up choosing the career of a software engineer, where I'm currently working at the moment.
That's a great overview, Ishan. Thanks for sharing. Now, let's move on to some behavioral questions. Can you tell me about a time you had to work with a difficult teammate? How did you handle the situation?
Absolutely. So there's a moment in time where I had to work with a teammate who was consistently late to meetings. And this proved to be kind of difficult to work with because, from a project standpoint, you have to repeat things when they come back and sort of disrupt the team. It disrupted the atmosphere a bit when they sort of enter in late. And when I say late, I'm talking maybe like 20 minutes to half an hour late. So it was a bit annoying to deal with.
I understand. It sounds frustrating. How did you approach addressing the issue with your teammate? Did you speak to them directly or did you involve a manager?
Yeah, so for this time, I kind of just thought it'd be nice just to, directly address this. So really just start off with a one-on-one conversation, just trying to see if like maybe there's something we could do to better accommodate them. And obviously we got to know that, because of their commute, it was very difficult for them to make the time of that meeting. So what we ended up doing was we shift that meeting so that way they could always be there at the office during that time. So that way we won't run into this issue again. And it turns out to be a great compromise, and that issue was after solved.
That's a great example of finding a solution through direct communication and compromise. Now let's switch gears a bit. Can you describe a challenging feature you had to implement? What made it difficult and how did you approach solving it?
Yeah, so a complex feature that I had to implement was actually one that I made while I was working here at Krownie. And that was the webcam upload feature. So the webcam upload feature involved during an interview, kind of like what I'm doing now, actually. Um, you know, we are collecting webcam data that we'd like to eventually show to the recruiter once a candidate completes their interview. So the challenge was at the end of the interview, we simply don't want to do one gigantic file upload because I'm sure, as you know, interviews can get long. Interviews can sometimes take half an hour, maybe an hour long. So we want to make sure that this is not a sort of one-time process where we upload the file all at once to our storage. So I had to implement a solution that involves sending this file in chunks. So during the actual call itself, we'd be sending a chunk to our storage. And at the end of the call, we'd synthesize that all together.
That sounds like a complex feature with several moving parts. What specific technologies or tools did you use to implement the chunking and reassembly of the video files?
So I was able to leverage AWS multi-part upload. It was a solution that I found through a lot of Googling, but we are also currently using AWS as well in our current infrastructure. So it turned out to be a very smooth fitting solution.
That's great. It sounds like you were able to leverage existing tools to solve the problem efficiently. Thanks so much for sharing all of that. It's been great getting to know more about your experience. If you like any feedback on your answers, feel free to ask.
No, I'm good. Thank you so much, Chloe.
You're very welcome, Eshan. It was a pleasure speaking with you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
You too.
Awesome. So that was an interview right there. And obviously the way I configured that interview flow, it was to be very short. I only asked for it to maybe ask a couple questions, maybe a couple follow-ups. So depending on how you want to configure your interview, you can also add more questions. You can ask for more follow-up questions. So all that can be configured when you're actually constructing the interview flow. But for the demo purposes, I hope you're able to get the idea across that, this is a very intelligent AI. It's not simply regurgitating questions that you input. It's also able to understand the context and ask appropriate follow-up questions. So once the interview is actually complete, we can go back to our dashboard. Let's do a quick refresh. Usually this process can take some time, but you can see right here we have a new upload right here. So this is our latest upload, uploaded today. And we have a score here, 86 out of 100, which I think is quite good. I mean, I didn't even think that I did that great, to be honest. But anyways, let's click view details. So the video usually takes some time to process. So it's not available immediately after the interview is completed, but we do have access to the audio recording. Love to solve problems.
Real questions.
You got to know that. So the blue sections will correspond to sections that are spoken by the AI recruiter, and obviously the red ones are the ones spoken by the candidate. So in addition to all that, we also have a lot of feedback that we can provide to the recruiter based on the interview. So for example, you have the interview summary and performance. We have the interview details over here alongside the duration, and we have the overall score, which is something we calculate. And we have a generic summary of sort of how we think the interview actually went and what we think of the candidate. When you scroll down, we can actually see a more specific candidate evaluation where you actually go through their strengths and weaknesses. I can definitely say I definitely resonate with this weakness. I definitely used a lot of filler words in my interview. So it does a very good, accurate representation of, a candidate's strengths and weaknesses. We also have technical feedback. We can get the, what's it called? We can sort of see the technical questions that were asked, and it scores based on that. And also at the very bottom, we have behavioral feedback, which refers to more so like, things about structure, clarity, detail. So a lot of these categories, they will change depending on the context of the interview. These aren't the only ones that we assess. But what's really awesome is for each piece of feedback. So I was able to leverage AWS multi-part upload. We can actually jump to that specific timestamp. So can you jump to
Absolutely.
here? So as you know, so all these timestamps will correspond to specific sections of the interview that we can always go back and refer to. So that way, we're able to actually go back, listen to that recording, and make an accurate assessment about how we think that candidate did. And hopefully the recruiting team can make a very accurate decision about who to hire next. So like I mentioned, typically the video upload takes some time, but let's actually refresh and see if maybe it's ready right now. There we go. So we have the video right here at our disposal. We can go and watch it.
I agree.
So it is a very concise, very condensed, and very easy to digest video of how Krownie is able to essentially use our AI voice interviewer and generate some great feedback. So that way you as a recruiter can make some great hiring decisions. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Krownie. My name is Ashan. Take care. Bye-bye.